there are many questions that arise from that. For example, what is, what are some of our goals? Is there an afterlife? How do I live? Do I become virtuous? For example, have morals. Is that my purpose, to become having good morals? Yeah. Okay. One of the main things is, let's go on. So, in terms of philosophy, the reason why we go and pursue in philosophy is to understand nature. Within that, we look at metaphysics. Metaphysics is what reality really is. What is reality? Within that subject is ontology. Ontology means the study of existence, what exists. And even within that is teleology. What teleology means is that what is the end purpose of or the goal of an organism is. So that's where we're framing the question. Aristotle basically said the best way to understand a thing is to understand what its purpose was intended to do. Okay, here's Maslow's hierarchy. Basically, this means that there's different types of needs, and your needs change in terms of your hierarchy. So basically, you got physiological needs. Is the body. Is your body working, active? Are you healthy? Safety needs is, for example, do you have security? For example, in Pakistan, you'll have the bombs exploding. Is that satisfied? Are you safe in this environment? If you're not safe, then you're not going to go to any of the further ones. You understand? If these basic needs are not met, you can't go to your other type of needs. Then you got like social belonging, like you got friends, friendship. Other ones are self-esteem. Which that means that you have the ego. Means that I want to do something, I want to achieve something. Again, I could mention in Pakistan, compared to the West, where in the West you have, for example, you go to whatever limits you like. Here it's a lot limited, like your education, your things, where like the system is stopping you, so you can't actually go further than that. Then there's like self-actualization, where you got like sports people that really excel in terms of sports, technology, to their full capacity. Finally, Maslow wrote more recently, near his end of life, is called transcendence. Transcendence means basically going beyond oneself. So what that means is like altruism. Altruistic means that you help someone, but you get no benefit physically from that help. Why would you help someone? So this is how it works, and we're going to examine now some of the parts. So again, I've said something. So in terms of ancient Greek philosophy, we go to Platonism. What they say the ultimate values is to do good. So he says, for example, highest form of knowledge. So to gain the ultimate knowledge, or gain knowledge, is the best ultimate thing to do from their point of view. Aristotle said, yes, that's fine, but you should be moral. Moral means to do good, good things. Have self-control, self-things. Cynicism, he actually said, to do good, but it must agree to nature. For example, the natural world, you shouldn't harm people. That is moralistic, rather than being abstract. Then we come to, for example, Cryonism, where it says the ultimate aim for man is basically pleasure and not having pain. So basically what that means is that you should pursue happiness. Become happy with whatever you like, enjoy. That's your ultimate aim. Then we got, like in the West, we got hedonism. You see that hedonism, or you see, like, for example, rich people. They have their lavish cars. They enjoy their parties. That's hedonism, where they're having ultimate pleasure. That's all they enjoy. They don't care about helping anybody else. It's internal. Yeah. So that's where hedonism comes in. Epicureanism is basically saying, arose where they said, don't have too much pleasure. Yeah, you should have basic pleasure, not too much. So, restrict your pleasure. Stoicism said, again, don't use too much emotions. Don't get emotional with anything so much that it overtakes your life. Like, for example, you might love someone, don't love them too much. It ruins your life. All right. We come now to Enlightenment philosophy, where they moved away. Enlightenment philosophy, this is in Europe basically, they moved away from the self, and they said more about society. They were thinking about equality of society. So if society gains freedoms, it can also, if a society is able to, or people are able to learn, gain knowledge as a whole, that's where they moved on to. You've got different parts like Kantism. He said the ultimate aim is not to actually worry about what the ultimate cause you're going to have. It's just the actions. Do the actions. Don't worry about what the consequences could be, which is quite dangerous, I would say. But you never know. Yeah. Let's go more. I'm not going to talk about utilitarianism. Okay. Now in Europe, other philosophies arose where we go like pragmatism. What they say, there is actually no God. Yeah. All you have to do is worry about yourself. So look at your life and pursue whatever you want. If you want to actually pursue, reading, arts, cinema, that's your ultimate aim. That's all it should be. You make your own aims up. There's no one telling you what to do. Like we have a God and it says, you must do this. They don't have one. They say, do whatever you pursue. I'll mention the most interesting. Absurdism, again, is saying there's no real God. At the end of the day, you yourself make the judgment of what is. Life outside is meaningless. For example, if you look at Pakistan, you see the random events. I mean, just imagine the traffic. Yeah? Would you survive going back tonight? It's so random that even if you do good, that suddenly you have a car accident and you're gone. Yeah? So the thing is, they're saying this universe is totally absurd. Yeah? That even if you do good, you might not survive. You don't know what the consequences are. It's so random. You see that outside all the time. There's no order. Finally, you've got nihilism. Nihilism says, in terms of philosophy, that there's no real truth. So this is against, like basically, not like what we talk about in the Quran, but they go that there's no truth in the real world. They think that, yeah? That when you try to identify what truth is, there is no real truth. So everything, you could do what you like. So there's no objective meaning. Objective meaning means that when you look in nature, outside, does it tell you what your purpose is? I don't think so. I've not found that. It's out there, it's up to you what you make it. We'll go on quickly to humanism, or atheism, basically. I've touched on that. Basically, you define your own values. No one else tells you these are the values, they're strict. But the problem, you can see what arises here is that each person has a different moral standing. There's no standard. Some would say this is good. That's what happens. That's the limitations of atheism. Again, humanism came in from atheism and said, no, we should have some standards, and basically we should help other humans. So welfare for humans, which they do. We've got for example, which Imran Khan is doing, which I have to say is political, but what I'm saying is that, for example, he's trying to bring in a social society where everyone, the poorest are helped. The young are taught education like we have in the West. So that's a bit of humanism, and it's not about me, myself. Okay, let's go to gene theory. One of the main proponents of this is Richard Dawkins. I think you've probably seen him. Yeah, basically what he says is that genes, if you understand genes, for example, genes might be are like parts of DNA. So you got parts of DNA. So in the population, so different people, they could also have your genes. It's not your own genes, but your children, your cousins, or someone else could have similar genes. So what genes do is basically called a selfish gene. What that means is that how biology works is that it tries to help itself, yourself, but any other genes that are similar to it. So that's what it says. Its ultimate purpose is to propagate, so have children, have families, expand yourself and live forever. That's all its purpose is. We're going to some religions. For example, looking at quickly, this is Judaism. Now Judaism, Christianity and Islam are almost very similar in terms of purpose. They have a book, Torah for Jews, Bible for the Christians and Quran for the Muslims. They normally have a set of laws, moral laws, and what they do is basically say, follow those laws. If you follow those laws, worship God. One of the main things is to worship God. You eventually, if you do that and accept that psychologically, you go to heaven and you with God, basically. So that's what it is, Christianity. I'm skipping that because I've got a few minutes. All right, Sufism. If you just go briefly off what Sufism, ultimate aim, what they try to do is to say there's no real materialism in this world. So it's not materialistic. And also what it tries to do is get rid of the ego. Ego is yourself. What that means is that me, I, that's the ego. What they try to do in Sufism is to get rid of this I. Once you achieve that, they say that you can join God. That's the ultimate aim, to go, be friends with God, love God. So you see, for example, Rumi, we all heard about Rumi, and he's always talking about love of God. And what they try to do is to achieve love of God on this planet here, on earth, before they go to heaven. Yeah? So they try to get, that's the ultimate aim, to love God. So you see them meditating. Why they meditate for so long is because they're trying to love God, access God and love Him. Similarly, you got Kabbalism. If you heard of Kabbalism, it's a Jewish sect, and I think Sufism also arises from Kabbalism. And what they do is basically, their main thing is, again, overcome the ego, very similar to Sufism. But they say, again, what your ultimate thing is that all knowledge actually comes internally from yourself. So basically, if you have a problem, instead of looking outside how to solve it, you go inwards, and the energy should come from within, or God's spirituality, and help you to overcome that problem. So you have immense powers within yourself. And their main thing is to ultimately join the Creator. Okay. We quickly go over a bit of East Asian religions. Moshism, which means that benefit for all. In terms of that, it means that, for example, you have your child or some stranger, you should love them equally. Which sounds a bit absurd, like you should invite a stranger straight into your house and and ignore your children, or but they have that. So Confucianism came in later and said no, there should be some hierarchy. Loving your children is more important than loving a stranger. Also, in terms of most of these religions, what they do is what they call yin yang. So if you look at that, the yin yang, we've got the same concept, battle and haq. It seems to be with all these religions, or even non-religions, there seems to be, if you look at it broadly, it's basically there's a good, evil, dark, light battle going on. And we've got to actually weave our way through daily lives forever through this good and evil. You can say dark, light. So most of these religions, we're talking about Christianity, Judaism, Eastern religions, when you look at it collectively, they're trying to battle or go through life, through your purpose, basically to avoid being doing wrong. You got a bit of Taoism. It says again, moral life. If you've got moral life, Shinto, self-development, and to stay on this planet as long as possible. Buddhism, it's actually not a religion in terms of, it's a religion, but it doesn't have any, like a god out there. So, you might think they have a god, they don't worship a god. But their one is, again, what we have a problem is we suffer. You know, throughout life, if you look at it, everyone's got some sort of problem at some time. Problems arise all the time, you know, and their main thing is how we can stop that suffering. Yeah, that's their ultimate aim. And the main thing is once it's called basically nirvana. Very similar to Hinduism, where it says karma. They reach karma. What it is exit this universe eventually. If you do good, develop yourself, like you know, it's very similar. Like developing the self, doing good morals thing, you eventually exit the universe. So Hinduism and Buddhism basically all again preach that to do good, do moral values, and exit. So you don't come back to this world. There's different ways. In Buddhism, basically, you transform from one person to another. In Hinduism, you transfer. If you're good, then you go up the chain. If you're bad, you become an animal, a lesser animal. Again, Jainism and Sikhism. Again, in Jainism, it's basically self-development. So what we said, developing the self. Even though we see them, you know, worshipping that, but the ultimate aim is to develop the self. Somehow the self seems very important to most religions. You know, to develop, even non-religions, you know, developing the self. So again, ego in Sikhism is basically to, you know, lose the ego. So it's important to always lose the ego in most of these religions. So the ego is the self. Somehow you think it's me, I, and all these religions say, no, it's not I. You got to leave that behind, and then you can go to the infinite. Okay, in terms of purpose of life, we looked at, here's some purposes, you know, to leave a legacy, means that you achieve something, love others, be happy, be creative, make a positive difference, rule the world, you know, some people rule the world, purpose, and some people there's no meaning, you know, so you got a bit of both. You got no meaning to achieving everything. Here's some other ones. Survival, for example, you know, in Pakistan you're probably doing survival a lot, you know, living from day to day, you know, mangai yogi, yeah? So, you know, ki kariye? Yeah. Here another thing that's important in Pakistan, replicate, bache ki nahi banaye, you know, when you get married. Otherwise, in the West, it's more like loving people. It's all about love. So different. So what, in terms of concluding, I'll conclude basically. There's different purposes, from having no purpose to having many purposes. But it depends on the person themselves. And I think what it is, the real message is, you have to find your own purpose. So what is your purpose, really? Thank you very much.